Joan and I spent our honeymoon in Europe. My mother's people were from Sweden, from a small fishing village near Båstad, where a picture asks to be taken in any direction you look. From the fishing village, we went to Helsingborg, which is like all the rest of Sweden, clean and colorful. We could have spent our whole month in Sweden, but we'd promised ourselves a trip to Paris. Originally, we'd planned to go by air, but we saw a poster in a travel agency window. Say, this looks like an interesting way to go to Paris. What, this? But I thought we were going to go by plane. I know, but since we have enough time, we might as well try the coach. Linjebus? Sure, let's give it a whirl. Okay. This was to be a new and unusual experience in traveling. A stewardess. And look what they're loading into the luggage trailer. Two drivers, never a tired driver at the wheel. Before we'd gone a mile, we took to sea. We drove onto the ferry, which took us across the Øresund, the strait that separates Sweden from Denmark. Along the fine Danish highways, we rolled toward Copenhagen. It's the capital of Denmark, and we had been told it was one of the most interesting cities in Europe. So we left the coach in Copenhagen and rented bicycles to see the sights in this bicycle-mad city. We saw Hambro, the old fish market, and Amalienborg Square with the royal palace. We saw the stock exchange with its wonderful tower of twisted snakes that make it look like a corkscrew. My pockets are always full of sugar because Joan likes to make friends with horses. We were reminded of a character from Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tales when we saw the statue of the Little Mermaid. She is the emblem of modern Copenhagen. In the summertime, Denmark lives in boats. Its people have been dependent on the sea since the time of the Vikings. Back in Copenhagen, we again found ourselves in the usual traffic jam of bicycles. Everyone who visits Copenhagen should see Tivoli, the wonderful amusement park in the heart of the city. Even from up there, we could hear the music of the Tivoli Guards. They're all grammar school boys, just youngsters. Main attraction of Tivoli is the Pantomime Theater, with its wonderful classic performance unchanged for 200 years. The clown is the symbol of Tivoli. There are half a dozen superb restaurants in the park. Night in Tivoli brings colored lights and fireworks, a 4th of July celebration every night. Denmark is a land of islands strung together with bridges. Back on the coach again, we headed south past the seaside dairy farms toward our destination for the evening near the German frontier, the town of Obenroe. Next morning, we rolled into northern Germany through the medieval towns of Schleswig-Holstein and then into war-ravaged Hamburg. The wide Autobahn spread us across North Germany toward the Netherlands. Since Linjebus travels only by daylight, we missed none of the scenery. Our hotel that evening was at Boekelo, in the heart of the forests of eastern Holland. We weren't prepared to find surf bathing so far from the sea. The wave machine in the hotel pool makes breakers any size you want. We ordered ours large. This was our first anniversary. We'd been married a month. So we took a table for two while some of our fellow passengers danced and gathered in congenial groups over cups of Dutch coffee. All this, food and best hotels, was included in the price of our ticket. Next day, we headed west again toward Rotterdam. For refreshments, all we had to do was buzz the hostess, so we enjoyed cold drinks from the coach's own refrigerator while we rolled through the Polderland, the rich pastures reclaimed from the sea by the industrious people of Holland. Joan was particularly charmed by the washroom aboard. It let her pretty up, so she reached our stops ready for sightseeing. We had arranged to take another stopover at Rotterdam. Not far from Rotterdam is Kinderdijk, where we found dozens of windmills built long ago to pump the farmlands dry. Also nearby is the lovely old town of Delft, a snapshot of paradise. Probably the best way to see Delft is to take a boat along the peaceful canals, which are more numerous than streets. The landmark of Delft is the old church, started in the 13th century. It has tilted like this for 500 years. The new church was finished before Columbus sailed from Spain for the New World. There was a carnival in Delft the day we were there. With sign language, Joan made friends with a little Dutch girl who stood wistfully by the merry-go-round. They got on together. It was hard to say who had the most fun. We caught the next coach to Paris, arriving at the Holland-Belgium frontier early in the afternoon. If you drive a car in Europe, frontiers can be troublesome, but there were no such worries for us. The hostess took our passports and a briefcase of documents. In 10 minutes, she was back, and we were on our way toward Brussels, leaving the poor motorists still arguing with the frontier guards. For all I know, they were still arguing when we reached Brussels in the afternoon. This gave us time to visit the Grand Place, the great square surrounded by palaces built in the Middle Ages. There's a flower market in the Grand Place where you can choose from among the finest roses in Belgium. Brussels is also famous for lace. I asked Joan what she would like from this shop, but she just couldn't make up her mind. So I planned a surprise. I knew by the way she said, "Oh, Jack," that my choice had been a success. From Brussels, we went south, across Belgium, and then across the broad fields of northern France. So to Paris, where we left our linear bus near the Arch of Triumph on the Champs-Élysées. Paris, Place Concorde, the Opera, Place Vendôme, names familiar to everyone who has ever heard of the Queen of Cities. The Louvre, Notre Dame, the bookstalls along the Seine. Paris, our city of dreams, thrilling stop on a road of romance. Paris is a dream city for honeymooners. We'd been there for 2 weeks, seeing the sights and sitting at sidewalk cafes. But our time was limited, and we wanted to see Rome, too. We saw an ad in the Paris edition of the Herald Tribune. We'd heard about Lignibus from some friends, that it was a wonderful service and just about the most pleasant way possible to see the country. Still, we thought we ought to see the coach for ourselves. So Joan and I went to the terminal, where a hostess greeted us and showed us her modern coach. She called our attention to the large windows, and we were charmed by the idea of a refrigerator for cold drinks on board. But it was the welcome of the comfortable seats that sold us. A few days later, we were on our way to Rome, watching the panorama of the French countryside as it unrolled past our picture window. Our hostess, who spoke 5 languages, told us bits from the fascinating history of Auxerre on the River Yonne, crowned by its cathedral from the Middle Ages. The Old Mill Inn at Vermentone, with its outdoor restaurant, is known as one of the finest eating places on the road from Paris to Geneva. We ate a delicious meal under the trees by the placid mill stream. After lunch, our route followed the Canal of Burgundy and then up the foothills of the Jura Mountains. Late in the afternoon, we arrived at Champagnol, where our lodging for the night was the delightful Hotel Ripoteau. There was time for tennis on the hotel courts. Neither of us is very good at it, but we had fun anyway. In the morning, breakfast was served in the garden. Then the coach started its climb up through the high pastures and quaint mountain villages of the Juras. As we crossed into Switzerland, Lake Geneva greeted us. At the end of the lake is the city of Geneva, famous as the home of the League of Nations. This monument to Woodrow Wilson symbolizes a peaceful universe. Lake Geneva becomes the Rhone River in the very heart of the city. Geneva is most famous for watches. There are dozens of shops, and beautiful Swiss watches cost less than half their price at home. Our tickets allowed us the choice of coach or boat passage to Montreux. Our paddle wheel steamer left Geneva for a 4-hour cruise up the lake. We glided past ancient forts and medieval towns. It was a peaceful trip, so placid, in fact, that I dozed in the warm sun. Joan, who never misses a thing, woke me to point out the terraced vineyards near Lausanne. Be sure to take plenty of film when you make this trip. Like everyone else, we used twice as much as we'd planned. And why not? The scenery on this part of the trip is among the most spectacular we've ever seen. In the distance was the Chateau of Chillon, made famous by Byron's poem about the prisoner, kept in an underwater dungeon here for 7 years. At Montreux, we left the boat. Here we rejoined our coach to leave Lake Geneva and go up the valley of the Rhone River toward the Simplon Pass. We climbed first through alpine villages and then through the tilted fields, which as you get higher are called Alps. The mountains of Switzerland get their names from these high pastures. Especially on this part of the trip, we were glad that we had competent, experienced drivers. We focused our attention on the scenery while they concentrated on the road. After rising 4,000 feet in 14 miles, we reached the summit of the pass, where we stopped for scenery and afternoon tea. We had done our mountain climbing the easy way, into the sky-high pastures where the herdsmen grazed their brown Swiss cattle in the summertime. As we went south, we went down. The arrangements to cross the Italian frontier, handled as usual by the hostess, took only a few minutes, so we arrived at the Hotel Milano in Stresa soon after leaving the pass. No one who goes to Stresa should miss a trip to the Barmi Isles, just offshore in Lago Maggiore. The hostess suggested that we would find the island of the fishermen, Isola Pescatori, the loveliest of these enchanted islands. So we returned to Stresa. After traveling through the villages on the shore of Lake Maggiore, we sped along the Autostrade, the express highway leading to Milan. In the Cathedral Square, the Piazza del Duomo, we stopped for sightseeing and then lunch. Like all cathedral squares in Italy, it has pigeons and people to feed the pigeons. We remember Milan for its soaring spires, and also as the place where you buy postcards by the yard. Soon after lunch, we passed through Genoa, birthplace of Columbus, one of Italy's great ports. And then along the cliffside highway above the resorts of the Italian Riviera. In many places, the road becomes an avenue of flowers as it winds down to sea level to glamorous Rapallo. From there, the route rises again through olive groves. In late afternoon, we arrived at Sestri Levante. Above the town is the castle. Today, it's a beautiful hotel. Here we dined and spent the night. Early next morning, we took a swim from the hotel beach. Breakfast was served in the Rose Garden. The road south wanders through the coastal mountains and past hilltop villages. Our next destination was a town outstanding in the history of the scientific world. Galileo used its principal landmark in his early experiments. We had come to Pisa. It was from this tower that Galileo dropped his weights. The tower leaned even then, almost as much as it does today. It was built as the belfry of the Cathedral of Pisa. We thought this was the loveliest church we saw in Italy. Having lunched at Pisa, we drove along the coast for some time, turning inland from Civitavecchia toward Rome. We passed the ruins of one of the great aqueducts that once served the Eternal City. We had come a long way with our congenial companions, and it was with real regret that we said goodbye to the hostess and drivers who had made our trip so pleasant. Most of the sights of Rome are close together. The Victor Emmanuel Monument on Piazza Venezia is only a few steps from the Forum of Cicero and Caesar. It's only a few minutes' walk from the Forum to the Colosseum, the huge oval stadium in which gladiators fought and martyrs were thrown to the lions. The entire arena could be flooded through these underground channels so that naval battles could be staged before thousands of spectators. We got an impression of the huge size of the Colosseum when we noticed a man moving in the distance, dwarfed by his surroundings. We saw the Plaza of St. Peter's with its obelisk and its fountains. There are many beautiful fountains in Rome. One of the most interesting is the Trevi Fountain. There's a legend that if you toss a coin into the fountain, you will come back to Rome. Joan missed on her first try, but the young businessman, who knew he would fish it out eventually, gave her another chance. This time she was lucky. We knew we would come to Rome again by Linubus.